Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Collective, where we tell it like it is, and it is like we tell it. As always, I'm your host, Alan, aka the Ace Man Dickie, bringing that attitude, that conviction, and that energy. And I am super excited about this week's episode. You know what we're titling this one? We're titling this one, It's Never Too Early, and It's Never Too Late. Always remember that, folks. It's never too early, and it's never too late. I want you to ask yourself, how old are you? How old are you right now? You know, I see the stats, I see the numbers. I know we've got young men and women at the age of 20 who are checking us out. We also have some more experienced men and women that are in their 60s and everything in between. How old are you? I want you to ask yourself that question, because what I want to discuss here today is some hard truths, all right? And the fact that it's never too early and it's never too late. Now, this is my opinion. It just blows my mind. I'm looking around on this thing called planet Earth. I'm looking around at life, and it just seems the number of people who are complaining, squawking, bitching, chewing about how difficult life is. It's only growing, right? I remember in days, weeks, or years past, people feeling like, man, life is awesome. We have an incredible opportunity to thrive here. Let's get it, right? As we all should, in my opinion. But I want you to ask yourself, how old are you? Because here's the thing I want to talk about, right? Let's just take a look at it. What is the average person living to today? Like 90, right? I mean, people, provided you don't get hit by a car and you don't catch some crazy disease and a bunch of unfortunate things don't happen to you, there's a good shot that you are going to live into a ripe old age, the age of 90, let's say. Well, what does this mean? It means that if you're currently 20, yeah, you've got 70 years ahead of you. And 70 years is an incredibly long time. That's like almost 4 times the amount of life you've already currently lived. Like, you can't even fathom that. And I understand. Conversely, if you're 60, that means you still have a third of your life left, right? If you look at 90, chop it into threes, we're talking about 30-year blocks. Hey, how was the first 30? How was the second 30? And get excited, because you have 30 more. So when I'm saying it's never too early, it's never too late, what I'm talking about is embarking on this amazing path that is your entrepreneurial journey. Now, as you're going to hear, and I've discussed in episodes past, everybody, everything on planet Earth exists with a gift inside of itself, right? This is something that we delve deep into in the Entrepreneurial Collective, because it's important and imperative, for that matter, that you understand this. And it's the uniqueness of your gift and your purpose that will unlock everything you've ever wanted in your life. I'm talking not only the amazing feeling and gratification of serving the world through your business, but also the financial prosperity that comes behind it. How old are you? It's never too early. It's never too late. Now, there's a couple of stories here I want to share with you that will really drive home this point that I'm trying to drive home. I'm not trying, I'm driving it home on this episode. You've heard of Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? Everybody knows Kentucky Fried Chicken, and if you don't, you've been living under a rock. Perhaps you should give it a shot sometime. It's tasty stuff. But we're talking about Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, the Colonel Sanders. Yeah, you know, he's the guy who founded the entire company. Now, I'm going to give you a real short Coles Notes version of the Colonel and what his story looked like. The Colonel was a guy who had gone through his life. Hey, he had gone through those 2/3. I believe he was 65 at the time, and he was entering his retirement. When he realized the amount of money that he was going to be receiving and would have to live on, he quickly realized this was impossible. There was no way he was going to be able to survive on this. In that moment, he was hit with a level of depression, I suppose you could say, where he was under a tree with a gun, ready to swallow a bullet, as crazy as that sounds. And some people have felt in positions or times in life that things are really difficult. And maybe that's an extreme example of how he was considering handling the problem. And I'd like to think all of us out there are tuning into episodes and podcasts like this to realize this never needs to be the case. But the point is he was in a really bad spot. And, you know, there's some people out there who are in their 60s perhaps, and perhaps you've been at that job, right? That just over broke position. Perhaps you've been at that cubicle. Don't hate me for where you've been. You see, one of the things I always point out to people, and I want to point out to all of you, is your rear view mirror in your car is this big and your windshield's this big. You know why? I don't care where you've been, but I care where you're going, right? There is nothing more powerful than the future that you possess. And today is the first day of the rest of your life. Let's get after it. Now, with that being said, let's get back to Kentucky Fried Chicken Guy. Well, Kentucky Fried Chicken Guy is in this moment. And it was only in that moment. Funny, isn't it? You know, and this is why I say the law. Comfort's next to apathy and apathy next to death. Being comfortable is something you should never seek, all right? You know anybody who's uber comfortable? And I'm not talking about the zillionaire who's already made it based on the understanding of these fundamentals. I'm talking about, you know, the 30-year-old kid who's still living at home and trying to rationalize why, right? I'm talking about the 60-year-old individual who is nodding and saying, oh my God, I sound like the Kentucky Fried Chicken Guy right now. Who needs to understand that this isn't the way it needs to be. And the fact perhaps, or the reason perhaps you are where you are is because for years you just leaned on that comfort. Oh my God, if I started that dream of mine, I might explode. So I'll just stay here, make enough money to pay rent and eat pizza. All right, but listen, rear view mirror, windshield, don't care where you've been, care where you're going. And today's the first day of the rest of your life. Well, sometimes it takes those moments, right? That's why I always love to say to people, pressure, in my opinion, it leads to prosperity, right? I say things like, I spell fuel, F-E-A-R. You understand? Fear is a wonderful thing. It is not a negative thing. Fear is a beautiful thing. It usually is the fuel that never runs out that will propel you to your destiny. And yet, what do? We're constantly looking for quilts and blankets to suck our thumbs well into our 60s to try and remain comfortable. Comfort has never served anybody. You must understand this. Well, back to Kentucky Fried Chicken Guy. He's sitting under a tree. He's got a gun in his hand. This is a terrible situation. But the fact of the matter is he's rattled because how is he, he doesn't have the youth or the energy that he once did 40 years ago. He's in his 60s and he's 65. He's like, how am I ever going to do this? Now, here's an important thing I want all of you to understand, and I'm going to reiterate it, all right? I want you to think about birds. This is a scientific fact. Birds don't lose energy when they fly. They gain it. Let me talk to you about fish. Fish, it's the same thing. Fish don't lose energy when they swim, they gain it. Let me relate to you, folks. Your car doesn't lose energy when you drive it, it produces it. It's called an alternator. What I'm illustrating to you here, folks, is when you operate in your purpose, you produce energy. And when you're not operating in your purpose, you lose it. And that's why perhaps the 60-year-olds watching this right now, feeling exhausted, completely energyless, thinking, well, that's a cool Kentucky Fried Chicken story he's about to tell, but that could never be me. These are laws. This is not my opinion. And this is what we talk about inside the Entrepreneurial Collective. This is what I'm here to teach you, folks. I say it all the time with a laugh. If you ever want to test laws and how infallible, yes, perfect, flawless they are, well, go test the law of gravity. Go up to the top of a big building, go out on the roof and jump off it. You tell me if gravity isn't going to live up to its law of gravity. What goes up will come down, folks. Well, it's the same with your purpose, and that's why it's so important to understand that you are not here, you weren't put here on planet Earth to work, pay bills, and die. And the fact of the matter is nobody can do better than you what you were created to do. Let me say that one again. Nobody can do better than you what you were created to do. And nobody can do Kentucky Fried Chicken better than Colonel Sanders, who was created to do Kentucky Fried Chicken. 12 herbs and spices. You know the deal. So what ended up happening? Well, pressure creates prosperity. Think of diamonds and how they're made. You've heard it before, and if not, you're hearing it right now. Well, it's a pressure-filled moment when you're 65 years of age, you've existed in jobs your entire life, you feel like energy in life has been sucked out of you, and there's no way you could move forward today. This is how he was feeling. But again, thank the Lord, this guy put the gun down. And you know what he said? He said, man, I'm tired of feeling like this. I really love chicken, man, and I love how I make chicken. And you know what he started doing? He started making chicken. Now, do you want to know what didn't happen to him? Nobody floated out of the sky and said, hey, man, put the gun down. If you start making chicken, we'll make you a billionaire. No, nobody ever did that. And nobody's going to do that for you. But what you must understand is that thought, that feeling, that dream, that desire that has been with you from birth, because if you really think long and hard about it, there is something inside of you that always has had your interest, that always has piqued your curiosity, that has always made you think, man, if I did this for the world would love it. But it's fear that has governed you, and fear has kept you comfortable, sucking on your thumb with that blankie in that terrible job that has underpaid you for decades and now has you realizing what Kentucky Fried Chicken guy realized. This isn't going to cut it. So what did Kentucky Fried Chicken guy do? He didn't care. And sometimes you need to be broken down to that level. You need to get to a point of, I don't care anymore. If I'm going to go because I'm going to starve to death because I can't pay a bill, then put me in the ground, right? And that, I believe, is where Kentucky Fried Chicken guy went. He said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to put that gun down. You know what he said? He says, I love doing chicken, and for once I'm going to do me. And he said, I'm going to go and start making chicken. I'm going to do it my way, and I don't care whether people love it or hate it. It's what I want to do. It's what I love to do. It's what's been in me to do, and I'm doing it. And so what did he do? He started making chicken. You really want to read the story. It's a longer one than I'm summing it up to be, but this is my version. It's my show, and I'm going to do it this way. He ended up creating Kentucky Fried Chicken. The operation started out as a small thing in Kentucky, out of a small house, right? He didn't have locations. He hadn't created franchises. He didn't do any of this stuff. But you know what he did? He focused on one simple thing that he was incredibly passionate about, and he did very well. And you know what that was? That was making chicken. Well, you want to know something? Here's the law. When you become valuable to the world will pay you to be yourself. Once people started to taste this chicken, they were like, oh my God, I've never tasted chicken like this. How did you make it? Who made it? And where do I get more? Well, the market will always tell you what it wants from you, right? You know, you might love baking. You might bake muffins. You might bake cakes. You might bake, orange bread, lemon bread. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Some kind of bread. And you might think everyone wants cakes. But then one day, because you've just committed to start baking, because this has always been in your heart to do, you make that lemon loaf. Somebody tastes it and says, oh my gosh, I've never tasted something like this in my life. Could you make me more? I've got some people coming over for coffee next week and I would love it. How much? And you're like, man, I don't even know how much. I hadn't even thought about that. This is how the world and the market will tell you and reaffirm to you that your goal, your dream, your desire that's been inside your heart burning since the dawn of time is the exact path that you should be following. Again, these are all things that we break down so deeply inside the Entrepreneurial Collective's inner circle. Because once you understand them, you don't need to wonder or wish if these goals or dreams or desires of your heart could ever come to pass. They're guaranteed. Now, Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, short version, ends up creating Kentucky Fried Chicken. He's got locations all across the globe, right? He sold the business, I believe, in his 90s, okay? So think about this. Guy's 65, he's under the tree, right? He's now 90, and he's selling this business, and I forget what the number was, $2 billion. I forget what the number was. A ton of money is what he sold it for, right? And my point to you is it's never too early, and it's never too late. You see, that individual, right? That individual spent 60-something years of their lives doing it the wrong way. And the indicators should have been for him and should be for you the fact that you feel that your energy is being depleted, right? It's the life is getting sucked out of you, showing up to that terrible job where you're undervalued, underappreciated, and most importantly, underpaid. These are the indicators that should signal to you that, man, it's time for change. Now, when you think about this, I want to give you an analogy, right? I want you to think about an apple, right? Again, what I teach, every single thing possesses a gift and a purpose inside of itself. And many times, that gift and purpose inside of itself is far more significant than what it seems to be on the outside. So think about an apple. Well, what's inside of an apple, folks? Yes, seeds, right? Apple seeds. And what's inside of the apple seed? Well, inside of the apple seed is an apple tree, isn't it? If you don't think so, go and get an apple, pull the seed out, plant the thing, and talk to me in a season. Tell me what you've got, right? Well, then, what is that apple? It's not an insignificant apple. It's actually rather significant. It's an apple that inside of itself possesses a gift, possesses a purpose that is far greater than what it seems to be currently. And now, inside of that one apple, we have a seed with the ability to produce an apple tree, and that apple tree has the ability to produce an abundance of apples year after year after year after year, never ending. Sounds like a great way to earn income, doesn't it? Reoccurring. Back to the apple. Now, here's what I want you to ask yourself. If you took this apple seed, enjoy the apple. Who doesn't love apples? But after you're done the apple, take the apple seed. And if you took the apple seed and you put it on a window ledge and left it there for 60 years, what would you have? Think long and hard. You shouldn't have to. You know what you would have? You would have an apple seed. Yeah, the exact same seed. Nothing would change. It would be right there. Many of you have been in the same jobs, remaining just over broke, ridiculously uncomfortable, and filled with disdain for your existence for 20, 40, 60 years. Now back to the apple seed. Is this apple seed 50 years later sitting on the window ledge looking exactly like it did when we put it there 50 years ago? Is something wrong with it? Is the seed broken? The seed is not broken, and you're not broken. Fact of the matter is that seed is capable of everything it was capable of the day 50 years ago it was placed on that windowsill. However, do you want to know what the problem is? The problem is it has been in the wrong environment. And many of you, to my 60-year-olds, to my 20, 30, 40, 50-year-olds, you've been in the wrong environment. And so here you are, this incredible human, loaded up with gifts and purposes that no other human being has been given, and delivered here to planet Earth to deliver all of those gifts to us, the world, okay? But you've just been in the wrong environment. That's why we created an environment, folks. That's why we have our inner circle environment, because we're the environment that you need to be in to grow and to prosper. Back to the apple seed. If I took that apple seed off of the ledge, that 50-year-old apple seed, right, and I put it in a dark, moist place, a little bit of soil, right, a little bit of moist space, covered it, a little bit, a few inches deep, it will germinate, and it will be able to actualize and achieve its true purpose and its true destiny to become the apple tree. Folks, it is never too early, and it's never too late. I'm talking to all of you. If you're 60 years old right now, if you're 50 years old saying to yourself, I just got 6-7 years left until I retire, you are a dead man walking, okay? Because the only people who are going to live to be 90, 100, and 110 are the ones who have a purpose, a reason for existing, a reason to get up every morning. General Motors. We've got a General Motors factory, right? Oshawa, Ontario. Do you want to hear an alarming stat? The life expectancy of a General Motors retiree is 1 year. 1 year, folks. You want to know why? Because that individual's life has been 30 years of drilling the bolts. Zit, 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 zit. Overtime, catch a shift, extra time, more time, catch another shift, right? And the second they hit retirement, they wake up and they're like, well, I don't go to the shift anymore. I don't have to be at work. What am I doing with my life? They have never focused their time and energy on their purpose so they could actually produce energy every day, experience fulfillment, and deliver to the world something that nobody else on planet Earth is capable of delivering, and in turn, becoming valuable to the world, allowing the world to pay them to be themselves and experience financial abundance. Yes, this is the recipe, and that's why they don't make it a year. So are you 50? Retirement should not be a goal, folks. Retirement is a capitalistic concept that did a wonderful job of fueling an economy. But I believe what would do an even more incredible job of fueling an economy and having people live long, fruitful lives is operating under purpose. It's not about money, folks. And any entrepreneur who set out on this journey, we didn't do it with money as the number one driver. To all of us, it was a matter of freedom, freedom to operate under our purpose, in our gifts, and in our passions. And that is what got us up every day. And that is what made us say, who cares if yesterday was a tough one? Today's going to be even better. And I'd rather be doing this than becoming a slave to somebody else and building their dreams out. Remember, folks, if you have a job right now, that is a perfect example that you're capable of performing whatever function it is you're performing. The only difference is you're governed by fear, which is why you work for peanuts and enough money to pay rent and have a pizza slice at the end of the week. Don't be mad at me. I'm just telling you the truth. It's never too early and it's never too late. So to all of you 50, 60, staring at retirement, maybe you're newly into retirement. You arguably are going to have 20 or 30 years left on this planet. And if Kentucky Fried Chicken guy can start whipping up some amazing tasting chicken and go become a billionaire, then you can do the same. Now listen, I've talked a lot on this episode about the 60-year-old, right? And I know what you're thinking. This is the funny part. The 60-year-old guy is thinking, well, if I was 20 and all full of piss and vinegar and I had all that time in front of me, I'd do it different. Stop using this as a cop-out, okay? Nobody's trying to hear your excuses. Build a bridge and get over it. You're 60, okay? Because here's the other group I want to talk to. Hey, you 20-year-olds. Hey there. How you doing? Still living at home, right? Liking that comfort. How's mom's meals? They're good? She's still doing your laundry? Excellent, right? Now it's your turn. Because a lot of you are saying, well, if I was 60 and I had some money behind me, I'd be happy chilling and everything would be great. No, you would be just as miserable as the 60-year-old. It's like you're pointing at each other saying, what he has, what she has. No, it's not the way it works. Now, here's the gift to all you young 20, 30, 40-year-olds, right? You do have that youth, you do have that vitality, and perhaps you have a little bit of that ignorance, right? And ignorance can be blissful. It sure is. But when I say ignorance, I'm talking about a lack of knowledge. You haven't been wired up like the 60-year-old has, that this is possible, that's impossible, this is how you have to do it, you can only save your way to prosperity. My God, if I hear one more person discuss a game plan about saving your way to prosperity, which is impossible, I'm going to lose my wig. Back to you 20-year-olds. What you need to understand is nobody in life, not even people who went through the Great Depression and at any point in history, did people just spontaneously combust when things got difficult. What you need to understand is if it doesn't kill you, it only makes you stronger. And in many instances, it is staying comfortable, remaining comfortable, that is robbing you from your development, robbing you. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't want to be robbed, folks. Now, if you remember the very first episode of this podcast, I was talking about the genesis of this whole movement, the genesis of my career, becoming a killer sales representative in the automotive industry, starting my business as an entrepreneur and thriving year over year since. We're 15 years deep. Well, this is what I'm telling you I've learned, and this is what I want to share with you. My greatest accomplishments have come in situations that if you told me in advance I would have to go through to become this guy, I wouldn't be this guy. I'd say, no thanks, I'll take a pass, because I used to be just like you. But life is a beautiful thing. And sometimes, you have to remind yourself, good fortune favors the bold. And when you make these bold moves in your life and you decide to go after these things, these passions that I'm talking about, your purpose, you are going to find yourself in some real hairy and difficult situations. The 60-year-old I'm talking about who probably has a couple of kids that are 35, 40, go talk to them. You're worried about how you might pay rent if you live on your own? These people had mouths to feed, kids, babies. The only reason I exist right now is I started my business when my wife was 3 months pregnant with my first child. You know why? There was no running away from it, folks. That's why the hair went white rather quick. I love every one of my white hairs. They're badges of honor. Because what I did is I understood the law. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. I'm not that. And a soldier dies but once. You're looking at it. If I'm going to go for it in my passion and it puts me in the ground, so be it. At my funeral, write it on the stone. This guy was a soldier. That's all that matters to me. That's the only legacy I need everybody to see, including my family and children. I don't want them thinking there was a coward who played it safe and was just miserable, lacking energy, looking like he was 100 years old when he was 60. So take this wisdom that the older generations can provide for you and have a fearlessness to move forward in your life, being willing to take chance, being willing to go for it. I say to young people all the time, if you ever want to have an incredibly valuable lesson, go into a retirement home, right? And go and find some 95-year-olds who still have their wits about them and say to them, be like, hey, you're 95, I'm 25, right? Like, you got 70 years on me. What would you tell me to do? I don't want to hear Alan Dickie, the guru. I don't want to hear what I want to talk to a 95-year-old. What should I do? You know what they're all going to say to you? I wish I would have went for it. I was always afraid that this wouldn't work and someone would just spontaneously combust, and so I played it safe, and now I can't even brush my hair. Whatever. They're going to tell you the same thing. I've done volunteer work in retirement homes. I asked these questions when I was 13 years old doing bingo games with them. I can tell you this. And that's what they all said. Man, am I ever happy that my 13-year-old self was listening to this incredibly valuable information that they were giving me. So young people, right now, you're in systems. Hey, those amazing education systems, right? Not so amazing, are they? And you know what you're surrounded by? You're surrounded by a bunch of people who chose their life's work based on a summer vacation. Now, I know that's a broad sweeping statement, and if you are that one teacher who was born to teach, who loves their students, who is experiencing the most joy in their life watching the person they taught in grade 10 become that CEO changing the world 10, 15 years later, this isn't for you, and you shouldn't even be hit by these words, right? Because you're operating in your purpose. But what I'm telling you is I didn't see you growing up, and I didn't have you as a teacher in any of my classes. I had what I just described. I'm just calling a spade a spade, no pun intended. But what I want you to do is realize that this gift called life, you only got one shot at it. So what it is you love to do, you need to anticipate the negativity, young people. You need to anticipate the fact that when you're 20 or when you're 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, your teachers, that won't work. You want to play it safe. That's not dangerous. Always look at the source of who is giving you the advice, right? If their life and their outcomes look like what you desire to have, their advice quite likely will be sound. But if you've got a teacher telling you that you can never make this work or that work, what are we talking about here? Again, if you watched my wonderful video here, I haven't finished high school, not due to a lack of ability. It was an immense lack of interest for what they were teaching me. And let me tell you something. I generate an income far more significant than any teacher who ever taught me anything. And I don't care about money. Isn't that funny? I care about my purpose because I understand I can have anything I want to in life as long as I help you get what you want. And that's what I'm doing here right now. Isn't it funny? I'm operating under the exact same laws I'm preaching to you right now. Can I preach, Brother Dickie? I think I will. Let me continue. So what I'm saying to you, young people, if your parents have been in that job, in that cubicle, right? If you see them every single night pouring the cocktails and putting a fake smile on their face because that's the existence they're escaping, let that be your indicator. You're not always going to be blessed with prime examples right in front of your face on how, hey, you could do it this way. That's why me and this podcast exist. But what I want you to understand is the laws of your gifting and your purpose and how to bring about this success. And that's what this whole movement is about. That is what the inner circle is about. And again, reminding you that nobody can do better than you what you were created to do. I believe in many instances, what this requires for both young and old is confidence. And I need to remind all of you that confidence is arrived at through accomplishment. Well, if you're playing it safe on the sidelines, you're never in a position to accomplish anything. Fellas, if you're just going to hold up the wall at the club, and talk about how the way that guy dances and that guy dances is silly, but you continue to see that guy and that guy dancing with other ladies, right? Maybe you should get on the dance floor, huh? Maybe you should go for it, right? Take the chance. Who knows what might happen? I'm still going to say you're never going to find Mr. or Mrs. Right in the club, and I know some of you have, but again, a broken clock's right twice a day, and a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Let me keep it moving. You understand what I mean? So, to young people out there, I've addressed you. The last little group I want to address are those of you that have got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Yeah. You've been at your company 10 years, right? The mortgage was 800,000. Now you got it down to 450, and now you're starting to say to yourself, well, if I just stay on this course, when I'm 68 years old, no, when you're 68 years old, you're going to have a problem, right? You're going to be weathered and torn from the experience of not existing in your purpose. You're going to look like you're 100 when you're 60, and I'm going to argue you're not going to be in a position where whatever retirement or little pension plan you got is going to sustain you with the cost of living, especially the way everything is going up these days. Inflation is up. So I want you to understand something. You're 40 years old. This is what I just described you quite accurately. You are going to be here arguably for 50 more years. So if you're going to be here for 50 more years, at what point are you going to put your sword down and come and join the winners? It's learning this skill set, learning and understanding that you don't need to wait another 20 years to be Kentucky Fried Chicken guy. Do it now. Put in the work now. You see, your job is what they pay you to do, right? Your purpose is what you were born to do. And when you understand and identify exactly and acutely how to identify that, which is, again, what I've done and what I'm here to teach you, all of a sudden you will feel quite liberated with the fact that you don't need to cling on to that shitty job of yours like a buoy in the middle of the ocean. Like there's no hope and you'll drown without it. No, you'll look around and realize, oh my God, there's a yacht right there. Let me get off this buoy out of this water, go take a hot shower and start cruising and tanning on the deck. Nobody can do better than you what you were born to do, folks. And whether you're 20, whether you're 40, whether you're 60, okay? Here's the deal. You're arguably going to live to 90 years old if you decide to take care of yourself. And I mean, even those, I know 100-year-olds who are still honking on cigarettes every day, smashing tequila. I can't explain it. I'm not here for that. But what I can tell you is you've got one of two certainties. You're either going to make it to that age and be brutally miserable, or make it to that age and be extremely happy because you shifted and understood this entrepreneurial journey is not about a new career path. It's about fulfilling your purpose and your destiny, the reason you were brought here, right? You were the one in 5 million that made it to the egg, the sperm that made it to the egg? Like, do I really need to explain to you how significant you are? That's who you are. So you're going to do that. Or you know what else is going to happen? You're going to be the guy who gets the terminal illness, hit by a car, or struck by lightning, and you'll be dead. So it doesn't matter anyways. And with that being said, yeah, I'm smiling because I think it's funny, and who knows how it's going to work out. Which one of you have heard from the Lord directly and have been told, you have until 2039? None of you. So why don't we start playing this game for a hot minute, right? Why don't we get a little uncomfortable and see what happens? Oh, but that might not work. Yeah, it might also work, right? What if it does? What about when it does? Because this is not an if, and this is the whole point of the Entrepreneurial Collective and its inner circle, folks. You see it in the video, and I'll remind yourself again, laws, right? I go to your car right now, I fill it up with 100% Florida grade A orange juice. I can successfully predict the car will not start. It is not because I'm psychic. It is because I understand the law of the car. And it's written on the back of your gas cap. It says unleaded fuel only, which is why if I went and poured unleaded fuel only into that vehicle of yours, I could successfully predict it will start. Again, I am not Nostradamus. I fully understand the laws of the vehicle. And I'm here to tell you with certain, I fully understand the laws of success, and I understand the laws of purpose, and I understand the laws of your gifting. And I've spent a lifetime researching them only to provide my gift to the world, which is all of this information to you. Ladies and gentlemen, please never forget, it is never too early and it is never too late. The only person holding you back from your amazing purpose-filled life that you want and deserve to live, it's not me, it's not your neighbor, and it's not your shitty boss. It's you. Do something about it. I'll be waiting for you. That's another episode, folks, of the Entrepreneurial Collective podcast. Again, do not forget to like and subscribe. There is so much content coming down the pipe because, as I just stated here, life is about delivering your purpose and your gifting to the world. It's always going to be for them and never for you. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm making sure I pour everything I've learned, all of this gift and all of this purpose inside of me out for all of you to take advantage of. Don't forget to check out the Inner Circle. I'm going to remind you of this fact right here. There is one thing all of the wealthy people on planet Earth will agree to that their money can't buy. And do you want to know what it is? It's time. I have spent my 45 years young in this world learning all of these things so I could deliver them to you in a program that could deliver it all to you in a matter of weeks, in a few short months. You're 60 years old? You got some chicken? I can't wait to see it. But more importantly, I'll look forward to seeing you on the inside. Every Tuesday it drops. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Entrepreneurial Collective podcast. Make it a great day, everybody.